Good evening. Our top story this week. In an effort to push gay rights onto us all, the U.S. Department of Justice argues that children do not need and have no right to their mothers. In Colorado, the governor wants $22.1 million to improve upon the state's failure of a child welfare system. In Nebraska, the former head of Illinois' child welfare system, who was giving multi-million-dollar contracts to his friends, is now consulting for Nebraska. And in New Mexico, the governor is criticizing a state senator for saying, quote, "The child abuse is a crime of passion," end quote. In Illinois, red tape is making it so that a wannabe adoptive mother can't keep the kid she was trying to bring into the country from South Korea. The U.S. Supreme Court is going to make a decision on a case which is set to challenge the Indian Child Welfare Act after the white adoptive parents were forced to give her back to her real father. In Washington, D.C., it is found that foster care is an early childhood predictor for future homelessness as an adult. And in North Carolina, DHHS loses a flash drive that contained the personal information of doctors who were banned from working with Medicaid patients. In Wisconsin, members of the legislature is calling for an audit and better oversight of child placing agencies after one was caught misusing more than $6 million taxpayer dollars that was supposed to be used for the care of the kids. And the state starts a criminal investigation in that case. In Maine, advocates are saying that teachers need to change the way they do things rather than change the laws that protect children from the dangerous and harmful use of physical restraints. In Maryland, a second grader is suspended for chewing his Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun, a move which the school says puts other kids in danger. And in Kentucky, it's being suggested that the schools are overreacting to the kids who are playing with imaginary guns. Russia doesn't believe the accident story based on the investigation of Texas CPS agents regarding the Russian orphan who died while in the care of an American adoptive parent. In India, the Comptroller and Auditor General says that the country's flagship child welfare scheme is a complete and utter failure. And in Norway, immigrant families are leaving the country to avoid child welfare services. In Australia this week, the number of kids in foster care is soaring. The head of the Child Protective Inquiry in Queensland says that Australian CPS agents are usually overreacting and that some kids are better off in an inadequate or risky home where they are loved rather than being sent into foster care. Australian CPS agents haven't a clue as to their stolen kids' whereabouts. And mothers who are the victims of the Australian forced adoption scheme finally win the right to know the names of their children. In Canada, a child and youth advocate from Newfoundland releases a shocking report on the province's child welfare failures. A former foster parent of the year who was charged with sexually abusing 3 boys has his trial delayed again because he was in the hospital. And a former Canadian foster parent is asking not to be sent to jail for impregnating his foster daughter 35 years ago. In England this week, critics are warning that Michael Grove's drive to increase adoption rates in the country would unnecessarily break up families. A mother is demanding an apology after British social monsters showed up at the hospital while she was in labor to snatch her kid, only to be given back a few months later. A high court hears how vulnerable girls who are allegedly abducted from a children's home may have been sexually exploited. And a little British foster kid was left all alone on a bus. A high court rules that London Council's policy for paying their foster parents is unlawful. A boy overdoses after having a breakdown caused by being raped in the British foster care system. The social workers who screwed up royally in the case of Baby P, who was a 17-month-old who died from horrific abuse, are trying to get their child snatching careers back. And 43,000 strip searches were carried out over the last 21 months on children as young as 12 in juvenile detention facilities, with only 275 searches finding illicit items. In California, a judge denies a request to lower the fine and probation of a foster mother who locked the kids in cages. Another California woman who tortured her adopted kids is going to stand trial. A Santa Ana man is accused of sexually abusing his foster kids over a few years. And a San Francisco foster mother has had her diaper bag stolen from a courthouse and lost her money, credit cards, and a cell phone. In New York, a caseworker who worked with troubled kids is busted for billing $25,000 to Medicaid for unprovided services. In Vermont, a Mennonite pastor with no previous record is going to be sentenced for aiding and abetting a former lesbian in an international parental kidnapping in 2009. In Indiana, a blogger who was convicted of intimidating a judge and obstructing justice after lashing out on his blog wants those convictions overturned. And in Massachusetts, the father of a 9-year-old booty-slapping rapper is bummed out about about the CPS investigation that was brought on by some CPS rat who had a problem with the kid's video. In Tennessee, a couple is suing the child protective industry after CPS agents snatched their kids 2 days after the mother gave birth, but never charged them with any child abuse or neglect. It turns out that the dethroned beauty queen from Delaware not only had foster care and a porn video in her background, but she also had 2 arrest warrants for underage possession of alcohol and theft. In New Jersey, parents are pissed after school custodians bound and gagged 4 second graders, and the school administrators covered their asses by saying that it was just a joke gone bad. In Arizona, the family of a missing child is suing the state for not doing their job in protecting the kid. An Arizona foster father is mad after a judge removes the kid from his foster home because it was too far away from his real family. An Arizona couple is suing Walmart for reporting their kids' bath time photos as child porn, costing them precious time with their kids and $75,000 in legal fees. And finally, tonight, in Pennsylvania, a 24-year-old woman who was desperately searching for her real mother died in a car crash before finding her. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK. Over and out.